You're watching CNN and this is Connect the World with me, Lynda Kinkade. Welcome back. Well, it's a movement unlike any other and one so powerful, it recently landed those at the forefront, the so-called silence breakers, on the cover of Time magazine's Person of the Year issue. Though initially coined in 2006, the Me Too expression took on a life of its own after harassment allegations against Hollywood executive Harvey Weinstein prompted many people, mainly women, to open up about their own experiences of sexual abuse at the hands of famous and powerful men. Well, feminist icon Gloria Allred has been fighting on behalf of women for decades, leading cases against men like O.J. Simpson, Bill Cosby, and even President Donald Trump. She's now opening up about her own life and personal struggles in a brand new documentary out now on Netflix. It's called Seeing Allred.
Today, 3 new women who allege that they were victims of Bill Cosby are here with me to describe what they allege that Mr. Cosby did to them when they were young and extremely vulnerable.
And for those who will choose not to believe that I am speaking the truth of what happened to me, please know that I wish it were not true.
It's always personal to me if a woman has been the victim of injustice and has been hurt.
Well, Gloria Allred joins us now live from our New York bureau. Good to have you on the program, Gloria.
Thank you, Lynda.
Well, you've long been an advocate for gender equality, a champion of sexual abuse victims, and a lot of our international audience might not know that you yourself survived a horrific rape when you were a young single mum. How did that shape the path you took as a lawyer?
Well, it certainly was part of my life experience to be raped at gunpoint. And certainly my life experience is the reason that I am so committed to asserting and vindicating women's rights and helping them to provide justice. It's also the reason that I can understand why persons who are victims of gender violence think that they will not be believed, because I thought that I would not be believed over what I thought would be the denial of a very powerful man, a doctor in Mexico. So I open up about that in the documentary on Netflix, Seeing Allred, but also in the documentary, we see so many women coming forward and telling what they say is their truth about Bill Cosby. We see the accusers of Donald Trump. We see so many others who have found the courage to speak out, and I call this the year of empowerment of women.
It certainly is the year of empowerment, and you have taken on so many high-profile cases, as you've mentioned, Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein. When did you realize that they were not ordinary cases?
Well, when I realized that many of the cases that I am bringing are against rich and powerful and famous men on behalf of women who allege that they were victims of injustice by these men, sexual assault, sexual harassment, violence, rape. These are issues that that women have been living in fear of in terms of speaking out about them because they were afraid. But now fear is being abandoned as a weapon that has kept them silent. So we see in our Netflix documentary, we see the women finding the courage to fight through their tears and fight through the pain, to move from what I call victims to survivors to fighters for change and helping to change the laws. And that is so exciting and so empowering, and I'm so proud of them.
As you should be. And you're also, Gloria, involved in a case against President Trump.
Yes.
What's the status of that case, and how difficult is it to take on a sitting president?
Yes, Lynda, that's the case of Summer Zervos versus President Trump. And she is one of the women who spoke out and said what she said is her truth during the presidential campaign. And she alleged sexually inappropriate conduct by then candidate Trump, and that's after we heard the Access Hollywood tapes in which he alleged that he could kiss a woman without her consent, that he could grab her by her private parts because he's a star. And he denied on CNN in a debate with Hillary Rodham Clinton, he denied having actually done that when Anderson Cooper asked him, and he said it was just locker room talk. He threatened the women who spoke out during the campaign, called them liars, said what they said was fabrication and fiction, threatened to sue them after the campaign. I called on him to retract. He did not. So on behalf of Summer, we filed that lawsuit in New York 3 days before the inauguration. The president at this point is seeking a motion to dismiss, to have that granted. We oppose that. He replied. We argued it early December, and the Honorable Jennifer Schechter, New York judge, has it under submission, and we are expecting her decision. It could be any day. It could be next month, as soon as she is ready to publish her decision.
Right, so that should happen pretty in the near future. Looking at the White House, this is a White House that is overshadowed by sexual abuse and harassment allegations. We're now learning that President Trump's personal lawyer paid porn star Stormy Daniels $130,000 to stay quiet. And on top of that, the staff secretary, Rob Porter, who resigned in disgrace this week, was kept on despite the fact that the FBI had warned the White House about his domestic violence history. Gloria, what does that say to you about the state of the White House?
Very, very troubling, Lynda. I do know Michael Cohen. I dealt with him when I had an issue involving then private citizen Donald Trump, when he excluded a transgender woman from the Miss Universe, Miss Canada pageant solely on account of the fact that she was born male. But in any event, I was successful in getting her back in and having a victory then over then Mr. Trump. But what I'm concerned about is I think there are more questions than answers with the response of Michael Cohen that he paid a certain amount, allegedly personally, to Stormy. And I think there needs to be investigation of that. I think that the New York State Bar will have a lot of questions about that. And I wouldn't be surprised if he is asked to answer those questions having to do with ethics if the State Bar opens an investigation into him and why he paid the money. Having said that, I'm very concerned also about the whole Rob Porter issue in the White House. First of all, I don't like calling it domestic abuse. Let's call it what it is. They're allegations of spousal battery. We saw that photo of the black eye of one of the wives. Apparently, they knew about this for some time, the White House did. Stop appealing to your base, I would say, President Trump, which is mostly men, and start being truthful about these kinds of issues and right on point. In other words, let's call it what it is. I think it's important to address the women who have been so brave in speaking out, the ex-wives, and telling, again, what they say is their truth. What about that restraining order? What about a protective order having been issued? There has been due process. Let's not talk about, oh, there has to be due process for the men. There's been due process. Mm-hmm. If a temporary restraining order was issued, a protective order, and now it's time for an apology to these ex-wives and to the American people for not taking action against Rob Porter much sooner.
Very well said. I want to go show our viewers another clip from your powerful documentary, Seeing Allred. Let's just take a quick look at this.
We don't think that our daughters should have to trade sexual favors in order to get a raise.
Why not? We did.
Well, how do you think we get on this show?
I want to see you in my dressing room after the show.
I know.
She talked about sexual harassment when nobody wanted to talk about it.
Must a woman prove that she has been psychologically injured in order to sue for sexual harassment in the workplace?
She kept pushing and fighting, and now more people are talking about it.
As we just heard, you have been fighting this fight for a very long time. It is personal. What has it been like for you, Gloria, watching the Me Too movement unfold? Do you fear it could be short-lived, or do you think this is a turning point?
I do think it's a tipping point, a turning point in the terms of women feeling that they can do something about sexual harassment or rape or sexual assault. In addition to some of them speaking out on the Me Too movement, more than 500,000, maybe it's 1 million at this point, all around the world. Many are contacting me from all over the country, and matter of fact, other places in the world, wanting to know what are their legal rights. Is there something they can do, some action they can take to make these men accountable? And the answer is, in many cases, yes, there are steps that we can take to help women achieve justice. But it is about accountability in some form. The power dynamic has shifted, Lynda. It used to be that persons who were victims were on the defensive and the accused were on the offensive. Now it's a shift. Now the victims are on the offensive and the accused are on the defensive, with men waking up every day saying, am I going to be next? Well, if they don't harass women, if they don't harm women, they have nothing to fear. It's time for them to acknowledge what they have done and to bring justice to the women that they have hurt. And again, these women are courageous. They are role models for people in their family. I say to women all over the world, watch the documentary Seeing Allred. See women standing up for themselves. You can do it too, wherever you are, and you can speak truth to power and win justice.
You certainly can. Gloria Allred, a great Netflix documentary, Seeing Allred. I'll be sure to check it out in full. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Lynda.